On our 5th anniversary, William cancelled our anniversary dinner to accompany his first love to try on wedding dresses. Some folks asked him if he married me just because he couldn't marry his first love and I was the next best thing. William calmly replied, "You gotta have a dream, right?" People around us wondered aloud what would happen if I found out. William chuckled casually, "She loves me more than herself. A little sweet talk and it's all good." I didn't make a fuss. I hid the pregnancy report and pulled out the divorce papers I had long prepared. "William, it's been 5 years, time to wake up from your dream." On the day of our 5th wedding anniversary, I took the pregnancy report with me and walked into a bridal shop. Immediately, I spotted William sitting there with a group of friends. One of his childhood buddies joked, "On your anniversary, ditching your wife to help your first love try on a wedding dress? William, you're really playing it big." William sat lazily on the sofa and said in a low voice, "There are things more urgent." This was the same tone he used half an hour ago when he told me on the phone there was an emergency at work and he needed to work late. "We'll reschedule dinner. I'll make it up to you, sweetheart. Love you, babe." Someone chimed in, "How can you compare pure admiration with feelings like that? Everyone knows, William only married Molly because she's Clara's cousin and looks a bit like her." Another person teased, "Couldn't get the older sister, so settled for the younger one?" Everyone seemed to await William's response. My hand trembled as I clutched the paperwork tighter. Finally, William calmly said, "You gotta have a dream, right?" I recalled when William proposed. He said, "Molly is Molly, she's one of a kind. I love you, and only you." For the past 5 years, William indeed treated me well. Everyone envied me for marrying such a great guy. But now, William's words shattered the love I believed we had in our marriage. I silently slipped the pregnancy report back into my bag and pulled out another set of signed documents. Just then, the white curtain slowly opened, revealing Clara. She was elegantly dressed in a mermaid gown, smiling at William. "William, do I look pretty?" William immediately stood up, walked over, and gazed at her. "Clara, when you wear a wedding dress, no one could be more beautiful." They only had eyes for each other. Even the staff whispered, "They make such a handsome couple." One of William's childhood friends, Alex, turned, saw me, and was startled. His awkward voice finally brought William's attention back to me. Seeing me, William was momentarily stunned. But Clara spoke first. "Molly, don't get the wrong idea. I just returned to the country and got a modeling gig." William was just looking out for me. The staff quickly chimed in, "Yes, Miss Yi here is just a model we hired. She's here for an interview today." I looked at William. "So, helping Clara is more important than our anniversary?" I asked. William frowned. "Molly, can you not overthink it? Clara is your cousin. You know she's just back and doesn't have many friends around. Who else would help her if not me?" "William, I heard everything you said. No need to cover it up." Alex awkwardly mediated. "Sister-in-law, you heard? William was just joking around. He didn't mean it." Clara's smile was subtly mocking. "Molly, to be blunt, if William and I were a thing, you wouldn't stand a chance, right? Even if William initially saw you as my stand-in, you two are married now. Don't act like I'm the third wheel in your marriage, okay? Clara, don't stoop that low." William's gaze turned to me, serious and husky. "Molly, sweetheart, don't make a scene." All eyes were on me for a moment. I walked over to William, calmly. Someone clicked their tongue. Another girl trying on dresses rolled her eyes. "What a hopeless romantic, huh? Really putting up with being a stand-in, and just like that, smoothed over with a few sweet words?" William smiled at me, extending his hand. But in the next second, his smile froze. I handed him the signed divorce papers. William stared at them for a long time. Long enough that I thought maybe he couldn't see clearly in the poor light. So I said, "William, I want a divorce." William opened his mouth but didn't say anything. He seemed puzzled. I patiently went on, Just letting you know. You can go on with her. We'll talk at home. If there's anything in the agreement you don't agree with, we can discuss it. You want to divorce me? William asked again. Before I could respond, he said, "You're divorcing me over this little thing? I told you everything with me and Clara is in the past, and you're still hung up on it?" The past? I chuckled bitterly, not answering. I just shifted my gaze to the cheap wedding dress Clara was wearing. It was beautiful but cheap, nowhere near the custom-made Swarovski crystal gown I had for our wedding. "So," I asked William, "do you remember our wedding dress?" "I can't find it." "Do you remember where it is?" William's expression changed. Our wedding photos had flooded social media back then. His business was just starting out, and I had given up a high-paying job, handling everything from secretary, administration to finance at his company, just to save some costs. During our busiest time, I worked myself sick, even went on a business trip with a fever to secure a big contract for him. I knew the company's financials inside and out, so when I found out he spent tens of thousands on a custom dress for me, I insisted he return it. But William comforted me with a smile. "I want Molly to be the most beautiful bride in the world. No cost too great." On the day of our wedding photo shoot, the dress didn't fit quite right, the waist was a bit snug. I pretended to complain, "It's all your fault for cooking up a storm every day, you've made me gain weight." Back then, William would affectionately pat my head and say hoarsely, "Honey, I finally got to marry you." At the time, I never would have guessed that wedding dress was made for Clara. Things that aren't meant for me could never truly fit. I barely knew Clara, we weren't even connected. I found out after being with William that his first love was my cousin. They dated throughout college, but as graduation approached, Clara abruptly ended it to study abroad. He was madly in love with her, and the breakup left him broken for a long time. When I found out, I had a huge reaction and confronted William. "Did you make me a stand-in?" But William firmly denied it. "No, Molly is Molly. She's never a replacement for anyone. I love you simply because you're Molly." Back then, it felt like his eyes were filled with stars, and those stars only had room for me. How could I resist that? So, when we took our wedding photos, I never doubted. Even after we got married, I never doubted. Until 6 months ago, when William suddenly started going abroad for business trips frequently. On a whim one night, I checked his phone. He had pinned Clara's contact at the top. The first thing I saw was a photo that made me go ice cold. With trembling hands, I scrolled up to find their conversation started half a year ago with, "Long time no see, how have you been?" Then it evolved into daily chats, growing more ambiguous by the day. The latest was on my birthday. I still remember William saying he had some meetings to finish but took a night flight back home. I was incredibly touched, and William kissed my forehead saying, "It's my wife's birthday, I have to be here." At that time, I thought I was the luckiest woman in the world. But the timestamp on that photo was during the moment William was with me, while I was blowing out candles and making wishes. In the photo, Clara was wearing the wedding dress custom made for her, cozying up to William and taking a selfie. There was even a suggestive mark on her neck. She wrote, "Does this wedding dress look better on me or your wife, hmm?" So, while I was making wishes with William for eternal happiness, he was telling another woman. Priceless treasure and a counterfeit are never the same. 5 years ago, William proposed, saying I wasn't someone else's substitute. 5 years later, in front of his unforgettable first love, he said I was just a fake. It felt like I was being stabbed a million times. That night, I sat in the study, staring at a printed divorce agreement, all night long. At dawn, I signed my name. Coming back to the present, in the bridal shop, William seemed panicked. He fumbled trying to wipe away my tears. I didn't want to look so pathetic, yet in that moment, the tears just wouldn't stop rolling down. "William, why would you lie about business trips, go off and be with Clara, then come back like nothing happened with gifts for me? Does Clara wearing that wedding dress make you more passionate? After being with her, you then rush back to celebrate my birthday. William, isn't that too tiring for you?" I was the one questioning, yet I was the one crying. My heart felt like it had a gaping hole, with the wind blowing right through. William was speechless, repeatedly saying with a strained voice, "Molly, I won't sign, things aren't how you think. Please, calm down. Do you want your first love to remain a secret lover?" I laughed bitterly. "You can't let go of her but won't divorce me. William, you can't have it both ways." William looked at me like I was a naive child, shaking his head in disbelief. "She's your sister, you can't make her look bad in public." Indeed, the nearby clerks and passers-by already started whispering. Clara had lost all her earlier composure, her face turning pale. He grabbed my wrist. "Let's not make a scene for others to watch. Come back home with me, and I'll explain." "Let go. William." Our voices rang out simultaneously. I turned back to see Clara clutching her stomach, sweat beads forming on her paper white face. "William, I'm feeling unwell, can you take me to the hospital? Maybe pain is contagious." Seeing Clara like that made my own stomach start to cramp sharply. It felt as if the little life inside me sensed the decision I'd just made, desperately pleading. Taking a deep breath, I said, "William, if you really want to continue with this marriage, draw the line with her." William's expression wavered. Eventually, he slowly released my hand. "Molly, your sister hasn't been well overseas for years. You provoked her stomach issues today. I can't ignore her. Please, don't make a fuss, just go home, okay?" He was looking at me, yet, all his concern was for Clara. Even though I already knew, in the choice between me and Clara, I was never his solid decision. In that moment, all my turmoil, hesitation, and indecision seemed to distance itself from me. I heard my voice, clearly, "Okay. William, I just hope that after today, when you realize what you've lost, you won't regret it." William hesitated as he supported Clara, not looking back. "Molly, I'm not someone who can be threatened." I went to the hospital alone. The lights of the operation room turned on, then off. From existence to departure, his father never knew about this child. William once eagerly talked about having a child with me, imagining countless happy scenarios as a family of 3. I always thought if I had a child, would give them all my unconditional love. Letting them grow up in happiness. But I loved the wrong person. William wasn't a good husband. How could he be a good father? When I returned to my parents' house, pale as a ghost, my mom was shocked. "What happened to you?" Dad's face looked thunderous. "Why divorce all of a sudden? Did William wrong you? I'll go teach him a lesson." Mom brought me a hot cup of tea, its warmth seeping through the cup and warming my cold fingers. I was about to speak, but I couldn't hold back my tears. I wanted to pour out my grievances, but then my mom spoke up. "Molly, William's company is about to go public. Are you really willing to hand over the fruits of your hard work to someone else just like that?" I was stunned. Then Mom added, "We know about him and Clara, but that's all in the past. Men always yearn for what they can't have. He'll realize soon enough that you're the one he truly loves." I looked at the two of them for a long time before I said, "So, even if I'm hurt and sad, you think I shouldn't get a divorce, right?" Dad looked at me like I was a clueless child and sighed. "Molly, listen to your dad. Men eventually realize the importance of family. William's conditions are so good. If you leave him, do you think you'll find anyone like him again? Don't act impulsively." Every word was about the pros and cons, but not a hint of concern for their daughter. Mom kept on, "She doesn't see his potential. You finally beat Clara in your marriage. Your dad and I can finally hold our heads high. Are you really going to let her win again? All my life, I've been compared to Clara. My parents secretly competed but always put me down to please my uncle, who's in business. If Molly could be even a bit like Clara, we'd thank heaven. If Clara were our daughter, we wouldn't have a need for Molly." Sometimes, it's not the criticism that scares you, but when it comes from your own family. Over time, that kind of pressure made my self-esteem grow wild like weeds, suffocating me. I held my belly and quietly looked at them. Am I just a tool for you to compare with Clara? Dad's eyes widened. Is this how you talk to your parents? Don't we have your best interest at heart? I closed my eyes and pushed back the disappointment that had built up over who knows how long. I didn't hate William that much at the beginning. But of all people, it had to be Clara. He pretended to choose me, then ripped apart that illusion, leaving me bleeding. That day, I really thought William was at a meeting. Clara added me on ins and told me she'd come back, and William was with her. Before truly making a decision, I didn't want others to know or gossip. So, my profile background was still our wedding photo. Clara liked it, then said, "Molly, you've always liked wearing my old clothes, but a wedding dress? Why wear something your sister didn't want anymore?" When she sent that, I was looking at the prenatal report, wondering if I should wait until William got off work to tell him. This little life made me hesitate for a moment. Should I give William another chance? Even if he's hurt me deeply behind closed doors, at least on the surface, he's like the perfect husband, looking as if he loves me terribly. I remember one evening when William and I were strolling in our neighborhood. Suddenly, a flower pot was pushed down from a balcony during a couple's argument. While I was still dazed, William didn't think twice and shielded me. He ended up with a fractured shoulder, which took months to heal. The doctor said it was lucky it was just the shoulder, a little more and it might have hit his head. William seemed more scared than I was. He held me tight. Thank God it wasn't you who got hurt. A girl in the next hospital bed looked enviously. You're so lucky. Your husband is so handsome and loves you so much. William smirked proudly. Of course, no one loves Molly more than I do. He sounded so sure. But even then, he was already with Clara. I've come to the point where I can't tell what part of William's love is genuine. And now, I don't want to figure it out anymore. I didn't want to argue with my parents. I was about to tell them I was pregnant and then lost it, that there was no future for me and William. Then the doorbell rang. William was outside, holding a bouquet of bright red roses. "Babe, don't be mad. Come home with me, okay?" William looked at me. "Molly, my friend saw you at the OB/GYN. Are you pregnant? Why didn't you tell me right away?" I shook my head, and after thinking for a moment, I took out the prenatal report and handed it over. I was going to tell you, but then I thought, what's the point? William's face froze for a second, and then he couldn't help but smile as he looked at the report over and over. "Molly, we're going to have a baby. I'm so happy." He looked up, maybe noticing my cold stare, and paused. "I've sorted things out with Clara. Everything before was my fault, but other than her, I've never lied to you. I really love you. I want to spend my life with you. This baby is a blessing from above, right? I know you're angry, but for the baby's sake, can you give me another chance?" William explained a lot. He said they did run into each other abroad. Clara was there alone, with no one to look after her, so they reconnected. For years, Clara's parents put their hopes on her, with sky-high expectations. Everyone sees her as the perfect goddess, yet she developed depression abroad. It's not that I thought her interviews were more important than our anniversary. It's just her mental state has been bad, staying home all the time. It's a big deal she wants to try working again, to get her life back on track. "Molly, you're kind. You understand me, don't you?" William looked sincere. "I'll admit my mistakes. When I first pursued you, I was trying to find Clara's shadow in you. Even that wedding dress was a huge mistake of mine. Molly, I'm sorry. But after marrying you, I realized what a great woman you are, and I fell in love with you. I had no plans to get back with Clara. All the stuff I said that was just to keep her from getting too emotional." William talked a lot, and my only response was silence. Since I didn't get angry or argue with him, William thought he had won me over. His eyes smile a little. "Molly, I promise not to see Clara again. Once the baby is born, let's be a family, just the three of us." I suddenly spoke up. "Did you sleep with her just to keep from stirring her up too?" William was taken aback but still looked at me and said slowly. That night she couldn't let go after our breakup and wanted to have the wedding dress experience. I didn't intend to sleep with her, I just had some drinks. I took the pregnancy test report from his hand and, right in front of him, tore it into pieces over and over. I said, William, I lied too. There is no baby anymore. William's expression went blank for a second. I pulled William's hand and placed it on my stomach, and said slowly, I got rid of the baby. I won't let him have a father who's unfaithful. William, your child was killed by your betrayal. Molly, how could you make that decision on your own? How could you be so cruel? You really drive us crazy. When they heard William admit he cheated, they didn't blame him. But when they heard I got rid of the baby, my mom was in tears, blaming me like I did something horrible. William stared at the white pieces on the floor, silent for a long time. His temple veins were bulging, enduring a lot of pain. I thought he'd be angry like my parents, asking me questions. But his eyes were just red, with a raspy voice coming out one word at a time like a rusty gear. It's okay, Molly, it's all my fault. If you can forgive me, we can have other children. I smirked. Do you think you deserve that? Molly. William clenched his teeth. After all these years of marriage, you really can't feel my love? Are you ready to give me a death sentence for just one slip-up? Just a slip-up? William, you had plenty of chances to stop yourself, but you let yourself revisit the past. I looked at the man I'd loved for years, seeing his painful and angry face, but felt nothing inside. William, you just got used to loving me while deceiving and cheating on me. And now you're admitting, explaining, regretting just because I found out. I softly said, I don't want any more of this disgraceful love. I looked at him expressionlessly. Isn't this when your company's about to go public? If a scandal breaks now, what do you think your competitors will do? Will the shareholders tear you apart? 3 days later, William weighed the pros and cons. When he signed the divorce papers, he said, I told you before, Molly, that I am not someone who can be threatened. He looked a bit worn out, with a wry smile. I'm signing not because I'm scared you'll mess with the company. I just didn't expect you to hate me this much. His hand paused while signing, like the end of our marriage. Molly, I would rather you fight and argue with me, cry and question like that day, instead of being so calm and using my most valued matters against me. You don't love me anymore, do you? I said, this outcome, when you chose to cheat, being ambiguous with Clara, you should have prepared for it. His eyes slowly turned red. I thought I still had a chance. I didn't expect you to be so decisive. I gave you a chance. I interrupted him. William, after discovering your affair, I struggled for 3 months. Especially when I found out I was pregnant, I gave you a chance on our wedding anniversary. Before I confronted him and Clara in person, I sent William a message. I said, William, are you hiding something from me? If you tell me yourself, I'll forgive you. That was my last chance for William because of the baby. But he laughed it off, even teasing me, yeah, I'm preparing a surprise for my sweet wife, can't tell you now. My trust and love in William made him think I was a fool. William said eagerly, it's not like that, Molly. I really was preparing a surprise for you that day. I was planning to deal with Clara and then come back to you. I don't need it anymore. I lowered my eyes. As a kid, my parents used to say to please uncle that they'd take Clara as their daughter and not want me. When I grew up, you'd do the same for Clara, ignoring my emotions. Like autumn always follows summer. With you, I always seem to be in second place. William reached out to grab my hand, but I avoided him. I picked up the divorce agreement and walked out the door. I wasn't like in those novels, where leaving empty-handed as long as away from a jerk is enough. I held William's dirty secrets, taking a large chunk of his wealth. William's friends criticized me for this. Once they called me sister-in-law warmly, now they just see me as heartless and gold-digging. He loved her enough to sacrifice everything, and it's just a mistake all men make, yet she divorced him over it. Who would dare marry such a cold woman? But they forgot, it was me who spent countless days and nights and gave up my own career to build everything up with William. This wealth, I deserved every bit of it. My parents, after hearing that I still insisted on divorcing William, were so angry they almost disowned me. When I found out I got most of the assets, I couldn't help but laugh. Let's see if your uncle dares to look down on us now. Their daughter was the other woman and got nothing in the end. What a disgrace. I was calm. I'm not the teen Molly anymore. The Molly now can accept that my parents didn't love me as much as I thought. I really messed up William. Heard he's been swamped at work, can't even sleep through the night. But I've still seen him park outside my building a few times. I didn't block him, so he still texts me. I made some soup to help you recover. You just lost the baby, you need nutrition. I know you don't want to see me, but please, take care of yourself. I told him, your priority should be figuring out how to handle the shareholders and getting your company ready for the IPO, not wasting hours on a pot of soup that nobody will drink. Even if I didn't leak the real dirt, the rumors are everywhere. William asked hopefully, Molly, do you care about me? I looked at the text and scoffed, did you forget I have shares too? Of course, I care about the company's future. William's pestering has lessened. But Clara, she actually asked to meet up. Clara still has this baseless sense of superiority. Stolen happiness never lasts. No wonder people keep comparing us and thinking you're inferior to me. I wouldn't be as greedy, asking for half the assets after a divorce. I laughed, you're not greedy, you're kind-hearted. I guess being the other woman counts as kind-heartedness? Clara sneered, Molly, love is all about who comes first. You were just my stand-in. I'm simply reclaiming what's mine. You love picking up trash. Be my guest. Finally, Clara lost it, I'm not here to bicker. It's about the shares. Before she finished, a sharp slap echoed. Clara clutched her face, already red with my handprint, eyes wide. So, I guess you came looking for a fight. I laughed and looked at her, you really think I was only going after William? Did you think the divorce was the end? Clara used to find a sense of superiority over me. But I'm not the insecure, introverted little girl anymore. I went through plenty of tough battles with William during those startup years. I once loved William, gave him chances to disappoint and hurt me. But I don't love him anymore. I never disliked Clara, just didn't want to interact with her because I felt it was the grown-ups who compared us who hurt me, not her. That's changed now. William messed up, how is Clara innocent? You reap what you sow, and she has to face the consequences. Clara was doing some modeling and blogging back home. William spent a lot of money on promoting her, exchanging resources, opening doors for her. She branded herself as an educated and beautiful returnee, gradually becoming a small influencer. She even posted a video about battling depression, gaining sympathy and admiration. Until the wedding shop video hit the net. The uploader was that girl who rolled her eyes at me and called me love-struck idiot. She captioned it, I hate seeing people pretend to be pure while being rotten on the inside. Clara's followers were shocked. The girl added, don't use depression as a sympathy card. Most people with depression turn on themselves, not others. You're a mistress, don't steal our thunder. That comment killed Clara's sympathy seeking with depression. I transferred some money to the girl who posted the video, thanking her for showing the truth. If William can buy influencers, I can drag her down using the same methods. I've got money now. I sold my shares to a shareholder who's against William. With the company about to go public, this would undoubtedly involve William. William now can't even help himself. I also leaked proof of Clara bribing a psychologist to fake depression. Not just bystanders and fans, but actual depression sufferers were enraged. Depression is already misunderstood by many, and here you are, exploiting it for clout, disgusting. With the scandal blowing up, Clara went from popular to rejected. Brands she worked with canceled their contracts, fans turned against her. William's company even issued a statement cutting ties with Clara. A mutual friend told me Clara cried buckets, begging William for help, claiming she was honestly on the verge of depression due to the cyberbullying, even contemplating suicide. Guess what, Mr. Lou said to her? She chuckled, couldn't wait for me to respond. William told her, then just go ahead and die. Ha ha ha. Serves her right. I just smiled without saying anything more. Relying on others for your life and future, not walking your own path, yeah, you get what you deserve. That shareholder with my stocks now has more say in the company. There's an undercurrent of pushing William out. I didn't care anymore, moved to a new city to start a business with the resources from the divorce and shares sale. Startups are tough and demanding. Good thing I've done it before, not testing the waters with every step. At year end, I visited the city. Knelt on a prayer mat, hands together, eyes closed, sincerely wishing. Praying the child I never met finds a happy, complete family next. As I descended the mountain, step by step, I suddenly met a gaze that had been on me for a while. It was William. Felt strange seeing him after so long. When William noticed I saw him, he smiled. His voice was a little hoarse. I'm here to give blessings to the baby too, Molly. Can we chat? As I sipped tea, I gazed out the window at the scenery. William sighed, thanks for not letting whatever you have out, but the company still didn't make it public. I'm not surprised, I've been following the brutal business battles. Just a day after William submitted the application to the Securities Commission, an affair scandal broke out. Clara even released even more scandalous photos than the ones I found on William's phone. The process towards going public slowed down. Funds were tight, investors lost confidence. And William's competitors smelled blood, eager to shove him aside. All in all, William isn't the sharp, confident guy he once was. William looked into the distance, his eyes unfocused. After breaking up with Clara, I thought no love lasted long. But after marrying you, I changed my mind. Everyone said I loved you dearly, and they envied you for marrying me. But only I knew you were the one who loved more. I thought you'd always be by my side. William's eyes were full of gloom, but I pushed you away myself. I stayed silent. It was all over. Love and hate didn't matter anymore. Now, I just want to live my own life. But William held on, hope flickering in his eyes. I couldn't let go of Clara back then, but if she hadn't lied to me, I wouldn't have been so hung up on her. I wouldn't have spent so much effort on her and hurt you. Molly, you've gotten back at me. Can you forgive me just one last time? Sure. William's eyes lit up, but I continued, as long as you can rewind time to before I met you, you didn't chase me because I reminded you of Clara or deceive me into thinking I was unique, back to when you married me, but made me wear a wedding dress that wasn't mine, back to when you acted so devoted, yet you were with other women. With every word, William's face grew paler. Finally, he bowed his head and gave a bitter smile. Molly, you know time can't go backward. So I can't forgive you either. I looked at him, speaking clearly. If I can still forgive you, how could I face the version of myself that kept getting hurt by you? Because no one ever put Molly's feelings first. So much that she almost forgot she also deserved unconditional love. Forgiving those who hurt you means betraying your past self. When I left, William still sat there. But I didn't look back. A gentle breeze swirled a yellow leaf onto my shoulder. It's late summer. About to greet the unique beauty of fall.